Hi guys, my name is Barry, and today we're going to be talking about fisheries and food supply from the ocean, as well as human impacts on these marine environments. Humans have always eaten marine animals, especially in these coastal regions. Over time, there have been more effective methods of catching fish. But wait a second, I'm sure you're asking, wait, what is a fishery? A fishery is a place where fish are collected for commercial purposes. Over time, as human population grew, so did the demand for fish. Since fish live in the ocean, it would only make sense to put fisheries along the coast so that they were close to the ocean. As a result, there were fisheries popping up along all of the coasts. As new fishing methods were discovered, along with higher demand for fish, more people began to join the fishery market. These new and more effective methods allowed fisheries to catch more fish faster. Although this was helpful, it was also dangerous. Nations and people became territorial, concerned about others taking their fish and possibly exploiting them. As a result, nations started putting a 12-mile boundary from their coasts where others couldn't fish. This expanded to a 200-mile boundary after a UN conference on law of the sea. These changes brought 90% of fisheries under control. Although when it came to regulating, it did not make much a difference. You may be asking yourself, what are the repercussions of having all these fisheries? Well, one big thing we're going to go in today is something called overfishing. Overfishing is when we fish at a rate faster than the fish can reproduce. This resulted in an influx of fishermen and fisheries, which also resulted in a surplus of fish. This fish surplus was an issue because eventually supply outdid the demand and all the fish was going to waste. It also put many species in danger of extinction. Certain fish populations, such as the bluefin tuna and Atlantic halibut, as well as many sharks, were being exploited. The overfishing is still an issue today. It causes damage to marine ecosystems by removing large quantities of a certain species from a food chain. For example, tiger-tail sharks control sea turtle and sea cow populations in Australia. Sea cows and sea turtles eat seagrass. Without seagrass, there wouldn't be places for shrimp, crab, and small fish to live. Overall, overfishing is one of the biggest threats to marine ecosystems today. It affects and damages food chains. It can cause a species to go extinct or be endangered, and it can also be very wasteful when the fish does not get eaten. Unless you're Barry, nothing goes to waste. Although fishing does have regulations and fisheries do have a set of rules to follow, it is hard to come through with ideas on how to keep these regulations at bay. For example, it costs a lot of money to regulate how much fish they are all catching. Organizations that regulate overfishing do not have enough funding in order to keep a steady eye on fisheries. In order to prevent overfishing, appropriate funding needs to be given to organizations that regulate it. Now I'm going to answer the biggest question of all. What can individuals do to help these marine ecosystems? One solution to this could be avoiding red list fish, such as the Atlantic salmon or the Atlantic halibut, and many others. If you'd like to look at the red list fish for yourself, you can go to greenpeace.org and look red list fish. If not, you can opt for other meats for protein, such as chicken. I think everyone can agree that the best decision would be to leave fish alone completely to live free and happy lives in the ocean. After all, fish are friends, not food.
Created using Powtoon.